The new Jurassic World movie came out, and I was excited. I've already seen it. And so it made me look back at the first one, the first Jurassic World, or fourth in the series, and see if there's any economic information. Because after all, it is a park and it is a business model. And I look back and there is surprisingly a lot of economic data in the first Jurassic World. So what is the business model of Jurassic World, and are they making any money? To answer this question, I use two models. One, Disneyland, and the second is Universal Park, or Universal Studios. These two are probably the most successful amusement parks in the world. So how many people go to them? Disneyland has an estimate of 56,000 people per day visiting the park. Disneyland also has three different pricing. They've moved to a demand style pricing model. So a value, or lowest that they will charge, is $97. A regular, you walking up to Disneyland the day of and trying to buy a ticket, that would be $117. And then a demand for peak days would be $135. When it was built with $17 million. In today's money, that would be over $200 million. Universal Park, Universal Studios. Universal Studios has about 10 million people go to them every year. And breaking down, that's over 27,000 people per day. It's interesting to note that in 2014, when the first Jurassic World movie was made, the attendance rate was 22,000 per day. The reason why this is interesting is because that's the number that they quote in the movie of how many people are in the park. It's 22,000. So they could have used real Universal Studios data in the Jurassic World park. Maybe. Universal Studios have also moved to a demand style of tickets. Their value is $95, the regular is $115, and their demand is $119. The Park Database, a website, they have done an excellent breakdown of economic and businesses of amusement park. One thing that they note is that attendance does not equal revenue. There are some parks in Hong Kong that many people go to, but they aren't making as much money as parks that have half the attendance rate. So what's the margins? The best margins for amusement park is 44% margins. That's pretty good. The worst is 15%. So in Jurassic World, there is a screen, they showed it a couple times, and they mentioned it several times that there's over 20,000 people in the park. They really want you to know that number, 20,000. And on some computer screens, they show two different numbers. One of the numbers is 22,216 people. The interesting thing, though, is also in the control room, there's another sign which shows max capacity, and it looks like they're at half capacity. So in other words, they could have another additional 20,000 people. So max capacity for the park might be 40,000. So just to generate some numbers for Jurassic World, I used Universal's regular ticket price, $115, times the number that they quote in the movie, which is 22,000, high and low margin to show profit per day. The thing to note with the margin is Disney's margin is lower, but it factors in depreciation of assets. Versus Universal's number is higher, and it doesn't include depreciation cost. Something to note. Another thing to note is that hotels and food, those make up quite a bit of money in these amusement parks. About 10 years ago, there was an article in the New York Times about generating a woolly mammoth, and that it would cost $10 million. This was 10 years ago. The price has probably decreased, but I'm going to still use that number. So how much would it be to make a dinosaur? Let's say it's $10 million per dinosaur. This is a little bit different than the movie because they say it's over $20 million to create the bigger, badder T-Rex thing that eats everyone in the first movie. But let's stick with this $10 million. In the first Jurassic World, the smaller little boy, he mentions that when they opened, they had 8 dinosaurs, and now they have 14 herbivores and 6 carnivores. Okay? So that means that it would be $80 million to produce all those first opening dinosaurs. How much would it be per ticket? Okay, so we know that the park opened with 8 dinosaurs, and each dinosaur costs $10 million. With a 10-year loan, you're paying 1/10 of that, because I figured that they would have some sort of financing mechanism for that, and about 10 years would be pretty good. And then I took the attendance per day. So it's number of dinosaurs times cost of dinosaurs times the cost you have to pay back every year divided by the audience per day. Keep in mind, this is an additional cost to the $150 per ticket. So you can kind of see that the R&D really does make the tickets a lot more expensive. Things to note about the movies is in the second one, I saw the second one, no spoilers, but they mentioned that there was a payout of $200 million after the whole incidence of number one. And so that's something to keep in mind, because since we're dealing with dinosaurs, your insurance costs would be a whole lot higher than a typical amusement park, right? So that's something to keep. The dinosaur veterinarian in the sequel mentions that it would cost a life savings to go to Jurassic World. And I don't think that that would be the case. The thing though is, in the first one, the kids go there for a whole week. So it could be that, Disneyland, you buy it for one day. Jurassic World, since it's an island and it might be more of a vacation, you might need to buy it for the whole week. If you like this video, please subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more economics and pricing videos in the future. I have a couple ideas for Rick and Morty that I will be doing. So now you can see how expensive it would be to go to Jurassic World for a day. Hopefully you learned something about economics or pricing or something. As always, enjoy. Have a great day.